Hey, what's up YouTube? I'm James. I go by Night Spells on this YouTube channel, and I've had this channel for about like 6 months, maybe a little bit longer than that. I've just been posting like my Twitch on demand, video on demand streams on it, playing like retro games and stuff. I actually have only played like a couple games. I played a bit of Treasure of the Rudras on the Super Famicom and Wild Arms 2. And most recently I played Dragon Quest, the HD 2D remake, which was really fun. But I just wanted to do like an introduction video, kind of like background on me as a gamer and stuff, and just like some of the history of my video gaming. Been trying to make this video for a while now, but haven't really had a chance to like really think about it and put it all out there. I guess it all started going to my cousin's house. My aunt would babysit me and my siblings, and I was probably about 3 or 4, and I just remember they had when you'd walk in to the left, they had like a small little TV, CRT TV, and they had a Super Nintendo. They definitely had a Sega Genesis for sure. And I remember under the TV it was like a drawer, and it would just have a ton of games in there. And I remember just playing a lot of Sega. I don't think we really played the Super Nintendo that much back then. But yeah, and then eventually there was a garage sale across the street, and me and my dad walked over and we're just like looking to see what they had, because I think they were moving away, and they had a Sega Genesis in the original box. I remember like the red, it had like red on the side of it, I think, and brought that home. I want to say the guy gave it to us for free or something. I feel like it was one of those things where it was like, oh, what a nice gesture. He gave us this video game. And yeah, and then I don't even know if it had any games with it, but I do remember going to Blockbuster, or I don't know if I went with my dad, but my dad came home and he had Power Rangers. Actually, I have it here. He had this game, and it was from Blockbuster, and I remember it had like a used price tag of like $50 on it. Yeah, I feel like the price tag used to be on the back here, but yeah, this was a lot of fun. Had a whole lot of fun with that, but I remember being disappointed because it didn't have the Green Ranger on this, and Green Ranger was my favorite. And you know, we had other Sega Genesis games. It was a lot of like kiddie games. Busy Town of Richard Scarry. My sisters had like a Crystal Pony video game. And then I remember one time, I don't know if this is a memory or if I'm just making this up, but we got Toy Story, and I want to say we went to Toys R Us, because I remember you would get a little tag. If you go through the aisles, and the video game section it would just show a picture of the game, and under it were little tags, and you would take that tag and you would take it to like this little side area of the store, and someone would bring out the game for you. Like, I guess it was to prevent theft. Yeah, if you're from the Bay Area and you know South City, the old Toys R Us by Ceremony, yeah, that's where we would go. So yeah, and I just remember it being so hard, and we had to have my dad like get through. We would have him like play it at the point where you're in a slot machine and you're like having to collect all the aliens in a time, and like under a certain amount of time. So yeah, good times playing that one. Now that I think about it, I think the first like console that we had, maybe even before the Sega Genesis, was this Game Boy Pocket Color that my grandma bought for my sister, my oldest sister, and it had Balloon Kid on it. Or she got her Balloon Kid, I mean. And yeah, this was like, we had Balloon Kid and we had Super Mario Land. And I feel like I pretty much like took this from my sister, because I remember playing it a lot. And I think we got Pokemon maybe like winter 1998 going on 1999. Maybe even like later on in 1999. I remember watching the Pokemon TV show, like the second episode on UPN, like right when it premiered. So I imagine we got the game shortly after, but This is it right here. I have it here still, Pokemon Blue, this exact copy. And I remember also going to Toys R Us and picking it up with my mom, like being so excited. Like I was like so freaking excited to get that game, and you know, taking the tag and having the person in the back bring it out, and just like looking at the box, opening up the box as soon as I got in the car, and like ripping it open and like reading through the manual, like even though we were only like a couple minutes away from home, just being so excited. And spent a lot of time playing this game. I remember for days and days we were stuck in Cerulean City because we didn't see that in the house there was a hole that you would go through. So we were just like wandering around. I remember me and my sisters were just like looking, we were just playing. We were all in the bed and just like each taking a turn trying to figure out what to do next. And the whole time there was a hole in the back of the house to get to the next part. And I remember being stuck shortly after that to get through Rock Cave, and my sister figured out how to do it. And then at school she ended up showing a bunch of kids how to get through Rock Cave. And then eventually we got the Sony PlayStation 1. We had like a Costco bundle. I want to say that must have been at the very end of the PlayStation's lifespan. You know, the PlayStation 2 might have already been out at that point, maybe, or it was about to come out. I just remembered it was bundled with Crash Team Racing and Spyro the Dragon, and it was so crazy. Like I remember that was like such a big deal for me and my siblings. We were like, oh my god, Sony PlayStation, this is crazy. And yeah, it was Christmas morning. We saw that box. We were like, oh my god. Let me see. I still have the original disc too that came with it. The Spyro the Dragon and the Crash Team Racing. So yeah, we put a lot of hours into that, and I love Spyro so much. I remember even getting Year of the Dragon after that eventually. I think I got Year of the Dragon like right when it came out for Christmas. It was like a month or two after it came out, and then after that getting the what do you call it, Ripto's Rage. But I actually didn't like Ripto's Rage as much as the other two, which I guess is sort of a hot take. So yeah, we had the PlayStation 1, and one time we went to Hollywood Movies, or Hollywood Video. Yeah, I think it's Hollywood Video. And we went to go rent Ape Escape, because Ape Escape had just came out. And yeah, it must have been 1999. So I guess the PlayStation 2 hadn't come out yet for a while. So yeah, I'm probably getting my years really mixed up now. We probably got it in 1998. The PlayStation 1. Christmas of 98, I would say. Because we went to go get Ape Escape at Hollywood Video, and we were walking down the aisles, and my sister was like, oh, what's this game? And it was this game right here, Legend of Legaia. And honestly, that was like such a huge monumental moment in my life when it comes to video gaming, because you know, I had never thought that games could have a story. You know, I thought it was video games were just like, oh, it's like they're like platforming, you know? Like Spyro doesn't really have a, like, it has a narrative going on, but it doesn't really have a story. Yeah, playing Legend of Legaia, I just remember seeing the whole, there's like a text crawl at the beginning of the game, and it's just like explaining like the world, and I was like, this is crazy. And then the mist, like it was just, it opened up a whole new thing. Like I feel like that, all that just like opened me up to like storytelling in a way, and like, yeah, I don't even know the words to say, because this is the reason why I'm like so into like JRPGs, was because of when we rented this game. And I ended up playing this more than Ape Escape. We had it for like 7 days or 5 days, and I just remember playing this for like hours and hours, and it was really hard. Like I don't even think I got that far in the game. Ape Escape, I don't remember how far. I think we did get pretty far in Ape Escape, but then I remember my dad went to go return him back, and he dropped it off at Blockbuster instead of Hollywood Video, and we could never go back to Hollywood Video because I'm sure the late fee was monumental. Yeah, I just said monumental twice. After getting Legend of Gaia, I also remember getting Wild Arms 2 because my oldest cousin had it. Like, me and my little cousin went into his room, like sneaking around, and we saw that he had that game, and we were like, oh, let's put that game on. It was Wild Arms 2, and it was so cool. And I remember going home that day and telling my mom, I was like, Mom, so-and-so has that game, and I want to play it real bad. And I remember shortly after going to Funco Land and picking that one up, and that one was also really hard. If it wasn't for great game facts, I would not have made it through that game. Like, playing it back this year, I have no idea how I understood anything that was going on because the translation is so bad. So yeah, other than Legend of Gaia and Wild Arms 2, I don't think I really played any other JRPGs on the PlayStation 1. Now that I think about it, I think those were the only two. But yeah, it was a lot of games like 007, like I said, Spyro, Crash Bandicoot. I remember my dentist had like a Japanese version of Crash Bandicoot 2 in the waiting room, and we were all having a blast playing it, and my mom picked it up for us that day. And that was probably years after that game came out, so I'm sure it was pretty cheap at that point because it was like a greatest hits copy. Remember getting Pokemon Silver. I had to, like, everyone had it at school, and I had to wait like a month after it came out, so like the hype had already died down, and I was like, oh, I got Pokemon Silver, and everyone was like, man, we moved on. So yeah, I mean, that Pokemon Silver was so awesome. Seeing the night and day cycle was mind-blowing. Yeah, I feel like Pokemon and Legend of Gaia and Wild Arms would have been the only like turn-based. No, wait, we had on the Game Boy Color, I also had Magi Nation, which was like based on a card game, and I remember putting a ton of hours into that, but that probably would have been later on because it was a Game Boy Color game. And I remember getting this Game Boy Color because me and my mom were at this grocery store. We were just walking around the aisles, and I saw a $100 bill on the ground, and I was like, oh my god. You know, I bet the person probably had just dropped it, and like I just came up and snatched it. I mean, I don't know, but I found the $100 bill, and I was like, oh my god. And I went home and I was like showing everyone. I was like, look at this $100 bill I got. And I was like, I want to go to Toys R Us. And I got this Game Boy Color. I think it was like $70. And I got my sister a Furby, which was like $30. So it was pretty good. It was pretty good. So yeah, and this is the exact Game Boy Color that I bought that day. It was so awesome. Good times. And then later on in the future, I got the PS2 for Christmas, and I didn't have a memory card. And the only game I had came from my uncle. It was SSX 3, I think. Or actually, it might have been the original SSX. It was. Here it is. Now, I think shortly after I got the PS2 for Christmas, we went to Blockbuster and we rented Vice City. And it was like, that in itself was insane. Like, that was like the first like next gen experience that I had had up to that point, because it was like the 3D world and like the music and the driving around and like NPCs reacting. Yeah, and guns. Like, I don't know why my parents let me do that, but my dad heard a song. He heard the Diodato song in Vice City, and he was like, this game is awesome. And he was okay with me playing it after that point. And so shortly after that, I also got Dragon Ball Z Budokai, which was like, I remember going to GameStop. It might have still been Funco Land, but I think it was GameStop at that point. And I got to pick out one game, and he was like, get Grand Theft Auto. And I was like, no, I want Dragon Ball Z. And I got Dragon Ball Z, and he was like super like agitated, mad at me for getting, because he wanted to play Grand Theft Auto and his dad wouldn't let him. So yeah, and I would play Budokai, and I couldn't save. I had no memory card, so I would just play. Each time I would play, I would just see how far I could make it. And I remember saving up pennies and coins for months, what felt like months, just to get enough to get this cheap little yellow memory card. It wasn't even Sony official. It was like a knockoff. Like, I don't know what the brand is. Maybe it is Sony now that I think about it. But yeah, I just remember saving up all the change I could to get $20, and then I remember going to KB Toys and getting this discounted memory card so I could finally save. And then I think for my birthday that year, so like months and months after getting the PS2, I finally got Vice City, and my mom had no issue buying it for me from Target, like rated M game. I have it here actually, the original one. Still got it. That's it right there. So yeah, as the years went by, I guess only a couple years, I remember getting the Budokai games every year. I got Budokai 2. I borrowed and never gave back Budokai 3 to my friend. I remember getting Budokai Tenkaichi 2 and then Budokai Tenkaichi 3 for the Wii. So yeah, there's a lot of Dragon Ball Z playing. As far as JRPGs on the PS2, I actually don't think I played any. Like, I was kind of like, I didn't know what, like, JRPGs. I remember seeing Wild Arms 3, but I didn't like the cell shading, so I never picked that one up. I remember Legaia 2 wanting to get that one, but I would read online that it wasn't that good, so I didn't bother. And it turns out that it really isn't that good. I mean, I've played it recently. I actually have a couple of videos on this channel of me playing it, and it's just, yeah. I gotta finish it. I never officially finished it, but yeah, it was pretty tedious, because I did eventually get it for PS2 later on. When Grand Theft Auto San Andreas came out, that was like the only game that I played for like the rest of, like, I think that was like the last video game I actually did play for years and years, because I never got the next gen system. I never got PS3 or Xbox 360. That's kind of like when video games had just faded out for me. I got like into like guitar playing and like music and just like being a bad teenager. I didn't really play video games. I would like occasionally get a PS2 game. Like, I remember getting Bully later on. But at the same time, I do remember getting into emulation. Like, I remember playing Shining Force 1 and 2 during summer break in like 8th grade or 9th grade. And I remember playing just like emulated Game Boy games on my computer, on the family computer back then. So I remember getting the Wii when it came out. My mom got the Wii for the family. And I remember playing the Pikmin games on the Wii. And I also remember playing Tenkaichi 3, WarioWare. It was sort of like, with the Wii, it wasn't really like a sit down and like lock in into another world type of experience. It was kind of just like, oh, let's just like kill time and play this just like game like WarioWare. Or like yeah, Tenkaichi 3 was impossibly hard, I remember, but like yeah, Pikmin, yeah, Wii Sports, stuff like that. But in like 2010, 2011, I remember playing Pokemon Black on my sister's DS. I remember playing Pokemon Heart Gold. So I guess in 2010, 2011, I was kind of into, like, those would have been the only JRPGs I played really were Pokemon, if you really want to count those. And then in like 2010, I do remember being super hyped to pick up Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. I got Soul Silver, and yeah, I was super into that one. I remember when Pokemon Black came out, I was really into that one too. And I was already a lot older then, but I just remember being like so invested in those games. It was like mind-blowing seeing Pokemon with those graphics on the DS. Unfortunately, I lost my copy of Soul Silver, which I'm still sad about till this day. So yeah, up until then, I didn't really... I remember going to my friend's house and playing like Oblivion, which was cool, on the Xbox 360. But other than that, yeah, I remember playing Grand Theft Auto 4 on my sister's boyfriend's PS3. So yeah, like, after that, I didn't really play video games that much. And then that same my sister's boyfriend, that same one, gave me his Xbox 360 like in when Grand Theft Auto 5 came out, and that's sort of when I started to play. Like, I kind of tried to do some backtracking. Like, I remember playing like Skyrim, Oblivion, Fallout 3. So I did a lot of like backlogging, but as far as like JRPGs, I think I might have been interested in playing like Tales of Vesperia or Zestiria, whichever one came out like in 2013. I remember wanting to play that one, but I think it was pretty expensive in the in between 2010 and 2015. Yeah, I was in college, so didn't really have that much money. I guess I would just play hand-me-downs and just games that were cheap at the time. And then I remember getting a PS4, and that's sort of when I started to get more into gaming again. I remember getting The Witcher, playing a lot of that. I remember getting Fallout 4 when that came out. Now that I think about it, when Grand Theft Auto 5 came out, I remember waiting in line at midnight to get that one. I also remember going to GameStop at midnight to get Fallout 4. What other games did I play at that time? I do remember being hyped to get Tales of Zestiria when that came out in 2015, but then the reviews came out and they were negative, so I was like, I should probably save my money, because I was still playing Fallout 4 at the time. Other than that, I remember playing like, what's that Naughty Dog game? Uncharted, the Uncharted collection. As far as JRPGs go, I don't even think I played any really. By the time Final Fantasy 16 came out, I didn't have a PS4 anymore, because I want to say that came out like at the end of 2016. But I remember being like, oh man, maybe I should get a PS4 to play that one again. But then the reviews came out and they also weren't that good. 2018, I remember getting really into Stardew Valley. That's sort of really what picked up my love with video games again, was Stardew Valley. Like, I locked in so hard into that game. Like, I remember having to go to school and like thinking about that game. Like, just like wanting to go back home to play Stardew Valley. And yeah, after that, I didn't play for a while. I do remember when Dragon Quest 11 came out on the Switch. I got a Switch Lite and I played it for like a few hours, but then I was like, this is like too distracting, and I ended up just selling it, the Switch and the Dragon Quest. But then once the pandemic came around, I also got a Switch Lite. So yeah, I was kind of like occasionally playing video games here and there. Nothing too serious. It wasn't until 2022 that Elden Ring came out, and I was like, you know what? I think I want to start streaming myself playing Elden Ring. So that's how I initially made my Twitch channel, was to do like music stuff, but also I wanted to play Elden Ring on it. I thought it would be fun to stream and talk while I play. And from there, I was like, you know what? I'm going to start finally playing JRPGs, because there's dozens and dozens and dozens of games that I wanted to play when I was a kid, but just never had the time or could afford them. And I'm going to invest the time in playing JRPGs. And so I played Breath of Fire 4. That was like the first game that I played. I got this little handheld, what is it called? Ambernic device. I don't have it with me right now. But I was like, I'm going to play all the Final Fantasy games. Honestly, that took me overboard with like I'm in this now. I'm a JRPG player. Like, after experiencing the first 5 games, I was like, you know what? I think I can get pretty good at this turn-based stuff. I played 1 through 8 on that little handheld device, because it could play PlayStation 1 games. And I put so much time into it. I loved 6 so much. But I was playing all these pixelated games on this Ambernic device I had, or emulating, and I was like, you know what? I want to experience these games how they were meant to be experienced. So I got myself a little CRT television, like a small little 9-inch screen. It had a DVD player in it, and it had the worst whining ever. But I also picked up a Super Nintendo, and I remember playing Star Ocean, the first one on it. After that, I was like, you know what? I want to get something bigger. So I ended up getting a JVC. I don't think I have it on this channel, but I got a JVC, like a 24-inch with component, and that's when I got really serious about the retro gaming thing. And so I got the modded PlayStation. I broke out the old Sega Genesis from my childhood. Got a Super Famicom with the one chip, the EverDrive, so I could play any game on it, as also with the Sega Genesis EverDrive. And yeah, since then, I've just been going through playing all these RPGs, finally, having a grand blast with them. Got a PS5 more recently, and I'm gonna try to get through some of those JRPGs. I played Expedition 33, played through Final Fantasy 16, which I really loved. I'm hoping to play a lot more PS5 and a lot more of the Super Famicom games on this channel. So yeah, I don't think there's really anything else to mention here. I guess this is kind of like a pretty vain thing for me to do, is talk about my past like this, but I hope it's not like self-righteous. I don't know, I guess I just wanted to see, like, put everything in a timeline, of where I'm at with video gaming, because this is a video gaming channel and I want to, like, get more serious about, like, making, like, reviews and stuff, or just thoughts on all these video games I play. So yeah, if you like this, feel free to subscribe, like the video, Night Spells, and I'll see you in the next one.